Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our second interactive session of Business as Usual. So I'm Audrey Russo, President and CEO of the Pittsburgh Technology Council, and I am joined today by my co-host, who's also Vice President of Visibility, Jonathan Kirsting, here at the Tech Council. These are really unusual times, but the Pittsburgh Tech Council is here to do what we always do. So one of these things is government relations. On that front, we are very excited to be hosting our, I'm seeing some alerts, our esteemed guest from the U.S. Small Business Administration today. Other public policy leaders scheduled for the session include PA Senate Minority Leader Jay Costa and Secretary Dennis Davin with Department of Community and Economic Development. And then we have Dan Gilman, Chief of Staff to the Pittsburgh Mayor Bill Peduto. And then we will also have U.S. Attorney Scott Brown. A few things about today's call. First of all, this work that we're doing right now would not have been possible without the strong support of our good friends and longtime partners at Huntington Bank. They stepped up to sponsor this series. And if you don't know anything about Huntington, you really should. They are actually the largest SBA lender here in southwestern Pennsylvania. So thank you for your leadership and thank you for caring about small businesses. So a bit about the technology and our format for today's call. Most of you will notice that we have actually muted your microphones. I would ask that you keep your microphones on mute throughout the call. Some of us have a lot of background noise going on around us, and we want to ensure that everyone can hear our guest with clarity. So with that said, we want the call to be interactive, so please take note of the chat box at the bottom of your desktop. You can see it in the screens at the bottom. If you have any question for our guest, please type your question in that box along with your name and company, and we will try to answer as many of these as possible. And please do not use the box for anything other than questions. This is not a place for advertising or promotions. Dr. Hunt has made herself available for 45 minutes today. So we will try to answer as many questions as possible during our time with her today. So with no further delay, I'd like to welcome today's guest, Dr. Kelly Hunt, to Business as Usual. Dr. Hunt currently is serving as the District Director for the U.S. Small Business Administration, the Pittsburgh District Office, where she's responsible for the delivery and leadership of the agency's financial and business development programs throughout the 27 counties of Western Pennsylvania. She also previously has been a small business owner, so she is someone who brings a tremendous perspective to what we're all going through right now. Welcome, Dr. Hunt.
Thank you very much, Audrey. Can you hear me good?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I am really excited to be on with the Pittsburgh Technology Council today and with all of your members to talk about some of the ways that the Small Business Administration is helping our small businesses to respond to the economic impact that they're feeling because of the coronavirus. And talk about some of the initiatives that we have, some of the programs that we're doing, and also even look at some of the things that might be coming down the pike that we could expect in the near future to help.
Okay, great. We ready for the next slide?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
So the first thing that I do want to talk about is one of the responses that the SBA came out with almost immediately. If you had seen last Wednesday when the president was speaking, he talked about using the Small Business Administration to get out some of the funds that we had that are available to help businesses that have been impacted by a disaster. And so the first way that we are really mobilized to help was through our economic injury disaster loans, and we call those EIDL loans for short. But those are fall under our Office of Disaster Response, and very similar to other disaster loans that we have when, you know, a hurricane hits or a tornado or we have drought or flooding, we come in with disaster loans for small businesses. We provide them help to get through that disaster. Well, our EIDL loans are a way that we can help small businesses to navigate through an economic disaster. Of course, you know, we've never seen anything like a pandemic that has made an impact on businesses. And I think if somebody would have asked us a few weeks ago, we would have never even began to believe that this could happen in America, but it has happened. And so now we react, and, you know, we do that with these loans, you know, and, you know, when we talk about the Small Business Administration, there's a lot of things that we do. You know, we guarantee loans, we provide free counseling, we help businesses who want to do business with the government, we help businesses to export products. We have these whole array of different vehicles to help the small business. And like I said, these disaster loans are just another way that we're able to do that. So, you know, again, the EIDL loans, it's an online portal. We're going to go through that and look at that. And some of the things that, you know, we tell people when we get calls, right now, we don't really know what is all going to be available. We know that these loans are available. And the one message that we're trying to get out to businesses, that if you think that you might need to get money, then we want you to apply for this loan. You don't ever have to take the money. You know, can apply if something better comes, another option, then you can take advantage of that. But we do encourage people to apply. So you can go to the next one.
Okay, the next slide.
Yes, please. So an overview of how these work and what you need to do is that you go to our website, and I have the link there. You can also go to sba.gov. It's all over our banner when you get to that landing page of how to get to the disaster area. But you can go to that website, and that's where you make the application. So these are a lot different than if you've ever borrowed money or gotten money, like you had mentioned Huntington Bank, which is a great SBA lender in Western Pennsylvania, our #1 lender for many years in a row. If you were going to Huntington Bank to get a loan and you needed an SBA guarantee, you would work with your lender at the bank. With the disaster loans, they're a little different because you're working directly with the SBA. So this is actually where we are taking taxpayer money and we are lending it out to small businesses, and we do that directly. So you're going to apply on our website, and then the next step would be to where a loan officer is going to be working with you. They're going to collect all of the documents that you need, make sure your loan application is complete, and then they're going to look at that and review that with a loan processor and make a decision on whether to fund that loan or not to fund it because of some other reason that they wouldn't make the loan. And then the third step is, of course, just like any other loan, they're going to close the loan and they're going to start to distribute funds. You can go to the next slide.
Okay. Do we have a couple of questions, Jonathan, that you
We
might
do have some coming in, and maybe just to get things started, really defining what is a small business, I think might be really helpful for our listeners out there.
What is a small business?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, and that's a question we get a lot, and it's very difficult to answer actually, because the way that we look at small business, we have what we call size standards, and the size standards for a small business depend on the NAICS code. So if you're in manufacturing, for instance, you may have a NAICS code that allows you to have up to 500 employees and still be a small business.
I see.
Some NAICS codes require a limit to the number of employees. Some require a limit to the money that you can actually make. So in some areas, you can make $16 million a year you can have that in annual sales and still be qualified as a small business. So what you would have to do is you could go to the SBA website at sba.gov, and you can go to the small business size standards. You can type that in the bar there, and it will, by your NAICS code, you'll be able to determine if you're a small business. But to give everybody a general idea, over 97% of all businesses in America are small by SBA size standards. So it gives you an idea that most businesses are going to be a small business. Now, of course, your bigger things, you know, Console, PPG, all of our local big businesses, those of course aren't, but most businesses do meet the size standards for small.
How about venture-backed businesses as well? And a lot of our members are venture-backed. Are they still eligible as well?
Yes, I mean, the thing with the disaster loans is, though, that you have to show that you have an economic loss. So if you're venture backed, you may not have experienced any loss in your revenue stream. And so you would have to demonstrate that to qualify for a disaster loan.
I tell you, we have so many questions coming in. It's like,
Okay.
It's blowing up in a very positive way.
Hey, I'm fine with that. We can always send a presentation out.
Yeah, we're definitely going to do that. We have many requests for that already on our chat line right here. If you already have an SBA loan, are you still eligible to get another SBA loan?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
And there's a couple different things there. So if you have an SBA loan, like one of our flagship loans, a 7A loan, or a 504, or even a micro loan, you can still apply for a disaster loan. If you even have had a previous disaster loan that is not fully paid off yet, about 2 years ago, we had some tornadoes went through Fayette County. We had quite a few businesses in Fayette County apply for loans because of that. And we've had other things throughout our 27 county footprint where people have applied for loans. You can still apply for one of these EIDL loans, the economic injury loans, even if you've had another disaster loan. So there's a lot of flexibility there.
Very cool. Such great information. Such great information.
Why don't we go to the next slide, and then we'll take some more questions.
Sure.
Definitely.
Sure. So the next slide is showing you what this portal looks like. So if you're interested in applying for a disaster assistance loan on this, you would just go in, of course, click on apply. You can go to the next slide and we'll kind of go through these a little quicker. But you can see, you can also go back, check on the status. And, you know, right now there's another area on there that talks about checking to see if we're eligible. But our entire state of Pennsylvania was certified a few days ago. So the whole entire state of Pennsylvania is eligible. The first thing you need to do, even if you've done business with the SBA before and you've had other loans, or you know, a government contractor or done anything like that, you're in certify or anything, you still have to register on this portal. They will provide you with a new registration. You can see on there, you're going to provide a username and password, and then that will be the way that you log into the account. You can go to the next one. And, you know, and the thing is with it, so once you register, it's going to take you through, it's kind of like if you think of TurboTax for your taxes, where you're going to go through and you're going to just answer questions and you're going to put all this information in, and it's actually going to put together your loan application by the answers that you've provided for questions. And then there are some things that you're going to have to upload, copies of your taxes and some specific forms that are going to be dependent on how your business is structured and things like that. But you will have to do some uploads. If you don't have the capability to do that, you can email or fax those in as well. But you're going to complete the entire you know, registration, and then you'll go through the loan process right on the screen. You can go to the next one. And like I said, more just about how to apply. It's really important. You can go to the next slide because there's some things I want to share. It's really important on this that you know how your business is structured. You know, whether you're a sole proprietor, a partnership, a corporation, you need to annotate that on there because, as I mentioned, that's going to dictate what forms you're going to need for your loan. But really important is that next question, and it says, are you check all the types of loan you're applying for. If you're applying for the economic injury loan, you have to only check that on this box, because it will bring up some different things as you go along that will get really confusing. So you want to make sure that if you're doing this in response to the economic situation because of the coronavirus, that you're marking that as an economic injury loan.
Jonathan, why don't we take some of the questions right now? Because
I'm just so impressed because there's so many and they're all such great questions. We have a couple themes running through here right now. Or if you've had like a contract that's been scaled back or postponed, does that count as a loss of income or a hardship?
That would that absolutely would be would be one. And because for the most part the federal government is open for business, so we're hoping that a lot of those contracts are going. But we have heard from some of our clients that we're working with that they have gotten orders to stop work on contracts, and that would most definitely serve as a loss of income. So would be very easy to annotate. And also know that if you have people on the call that this has happened to and they need some help, we do in my office have a contracting department that is able to really help with breaking down the FAR and helping to really make that understandable. Everything we do is free. We're a federal government agency supported by taxpayer dollars. So if there's any assistance that they would need with any help on a contract, they can definitely let us know.
So Dr. Hunt, with all this activity that we're seeing on the chat here, I'm assuming that obviously the SBA is just going to be swarmed with applications. I'm assuming you guys are gearing up and are ready for the influx of questions and applications and so forth.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I think that we've been doing about 14, 15-hour days ever since for the past just over a week. So it has been very busy for us. But, I have a great team, and we are all, like I said, you had mentioned, we own small businesses. We're the daughters of entrepreneurs, and, we love this. And to be able to help the businesses through this time is kind of like our way to serve our country. And so we really take that seriously. We're very passionate about that. And so we are very busy, but we like that. And, depending on how things go in the next few days, there's some, a really large stimulus package being debated as we speak. And, depending on how that goes, that is also going to open up other ways that the SBA is going to be able to help possibly, and, we'll add to our plate.
So what about collateral? Can you talk a little bit about collateral? We're getting a lot of questions around collateral.
Lots on that.
Okay.
Yes.
So on the economic injury disaster loans, those loans go up to $2 million. So for a loan, depending on what kind of financial situation your business is in, you can get a loan up to $2 million. And so for loans that are made for smaller businesses that maybe, just need a little bit of help to pay their bills, they might get a smaller loan, maybe a $25,000 loan. Loans up to $25,000 do not need collateral at all. So those loans are going to be just, made without collateral. Loans above $25,000, they are requiring collateral, but the collateral doesn't have to actually meet the threshold of the loan amount. So while they are looking for collateral, they're looking for people to put up what they can, whether it's going to be personal assets or business assets, maybe of equipment or vehicles that could be collateralized. It doesn't have to meet that threshold of the loan. So there's no penalty if it doesn't.
So, Dr. Hunt, you've made some reference about the pending Senate bill. Is there any up-to-date information that maybe you can share with all of us right now?
Well, you know, considering this is purely speculative at the moment, but some of the things that have been proposed will increase the amount of lending that we do through our 7A loan program. So we had mentioned Huntington, our largest 7A SBA lender in our 27 county footprint. In a typical year, the SBA provides about $25 billion in 7A loans across the country. So 25 billion. With some of the proposals, looking back at like Senator Marco Rubio, his proposal, that would increase what we would lend this year from our average of about 25 billion to 300 billion.
Wow.
So these loans would be made through our lenders, not through the SBA. These would be SBA guaranteed loans, but it would open that up, and it would also make some of the things in the 7A a little bit more advantageous to businesses that are being affected by this crisis. So it would be things like they would waive the fees on the loans. They would look at the time limits on the loans. They would increase the amount of a loan. Right now, an SBA loan goes up to $5 million. With some of the proposals, that would take an SBA loan up to $10 million. So there's a lot of things that have been thrown around that we're really hoping actually make it in the final version of, you know, whatever is passed, hopefully today, because these would be things that would really open up lending on a larger scale to our businesses.
So what about the turnaround time? I know you're working 14 to 16 hours a day.
Yeah.
What's
Well,
expected in the turnaround?
So the loan applications for the EIDL loans, the economic injury loans, those loans are processed through our Office of Disaster Assistance. So I work in the field operations. I'm in a field office. I'm out here on the ground in Pittsburgh. You know, that Office of Disaster Assistance, that's where these get processed. And they have loan processors, underwriters who are doing things. We've had a lot of great success in the first few days, you know, as these loans are going in. We're having loans approved, you know, in turnaround of just a few days. You know, so not ready to close, but the loans actually, you know, being approved and that loan processing being set up to close the loans. We anticipate, though, as that volume grows, that turnaround time will, you know, significantly decrease. And we're looking at probably about a 3-week period, about a 21-day period to get word back if you're approved for the loan. And then they will schedule the closing, and then within 5 days of the closing, they'll be making the first disbursements of money. So we're still looking in a period of, you know, 4 to 6 weeks before you have money in your hand.
Okay. And I see a question here. Let me see. Hang on.
Sure.
Let's see.
While you're doing that, I will mention on the screen there some of the things on the application. If you are filling out the application, only answer the questions that are mandatory to answer. Those are the ones marked with a red asterisk. Some of the other ones are more general, and it gets a little confusing for the businesses. So just do what you have to do. Right. And then I had mentioned, and there's also some contact information on that slide of where you would call in for help if you needed it, as well as my office. We're available to help as well.
Here's my question. Sure. So will you and do you help any of these small businesses get federal contracts?
We actually do, yes. We have like I mentioned, we have a department in my office that is government contracting. And what we do is we help businesses to get ready to do business with the government. So if you have a business that's not already doing government contracting and they want to help get involved in that, we will help them prepare themselves to be able to bid on contracts to get to that point. Now, if you have people that are already, you know, we're not a procurement technical assistance center. We call that a PTAC. We're not a PTAC, but we work very closely with the PTACs to help businesses that are all ready to do business with the government, to help them to get the contracts and to see what's out there and, you know, to make those matches. Now, we have some special contracting programs that are for some of the underserved markets in government contracting, and that's minority-owned businesses. So if you're a minority-owned business and you want to do business with the government, we've got some great programs to help you to do that. We call that, our flagship program is our 8A program, like an 8 and the number and the letter A. And that is a 9-year program where we get you in, we get you, help you to get ready. There's some opportunities for some sole source and set aside contracts. And then you start in the process where you're bidding. You can do a mentor protege agreement with a larger company to bid on some contracts. And then you get to the point in the middle of that program where you're actively bidding on contracts on your own, to where you graduate, you're actually a government contractor. You're out there doing contracting work. That program, like I said, is for minority-owned, women-owned, and service-disabled veteran-owned businesses. And so it's a great program. You know, you can contact our office and we can give you some more information about that. But aside from that, we help other businesses as well. So any other business that wants to do business with the government can give us a call. We'll set up a meeting with them to get them started on that process.
So some of our entrepreneurs want some clarity for intellectual property that they own.
Mm-hmm.
Can that be used as collateral?
That's a really good question. I'm not sure. I would not see why they couldn't, but I'll get back with you and get you an answer on that. I don't remember seeing it on the list, but it's not probably something that they typically deal with on a, you know, on most SBA loans. So I'll let you know. I'll find out and get back to you.
I love seeing the creativity from our entrepreneurs here. If you can use your IP or a patent, that's
I love
cool.
that.
So maybe
Well,
that's
I'm
possible.
sure
We
a
can really
patent,
find that out. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah. And I'm sure a patent may be even a little bit more because, you know, than just having the IP. So, but I'll check on that and get back with you. You can maybe send that out as a follow-up.
We'll make sure that we get everyone the slides.
Definitely.
Okay, good.
Provided to everyone who's on the
Mm-hmm.
list as well.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go to your next slide.
Sure. So I had mentioned this already. You know, the EIDL loans are not made through a bank. They're money that we're lending out directly from the SBA. The interest rates on these loans for for-profit businesses are 3.75 fixed and 2.75 for private nonprofits. So a private nonprofit can apply for an EIDL loan. So we have the small businesses, but the private nonprofits as well can do that, and they have a little break in the interest rate. Now, I've had a lot of questions about that interest rate because, you know, the Fed's cut rates last week, and we're anticipating to see rate cuts in the interest rates, and people are saying, well, why is it 3.75? It should be lower. These rates are mandated by statute at this point. The SBA cannot change the rate of a loan. That would have to go through Congress. They would actually have to vote on that and change that. I'm not saying it can't happen, but so far it hasn't, and these are the ones that we have to go with. So a 3.75, still not bad for a business loan. Repayment terms go up to 30 years, so you could really have some low monthly payments. And just yesterday, our SBA administrator, Jovita Carranza, who is actually just a few months into her tenure with the SBA, made an announcement that using her authority, she has deferred payments on the EIDL loans for the first 12 months. So if we have businesses on the webinar right now and they apply for a loan, and in April, they actually receive the money for the loan, they will not have to make a payment on that loan for the first 12 months. So they will have till next April to make their first payment. That's you know, the purpose of that is to really ensure that our businesses have time to go through this coronavirus you know, disaster, and actually come through it and start to grow back and to get it back to that stable ground before they start worrying about paying back loans. And then I had mentioned about the closing initial disbursements. The first disbursement is $25,000. It could be up to $50,000 if you actually have physical damage and you need the working capital. But if you're just going after working capital, you'll get your first $25,000 within 5 days, and then disbursements will be made in phases. And I've had questions about this as well. So say we have a business who actually applies and is approved for $1 million. And they get about 500,000, and, you know, we're coming out of this, you know, the bell curve is, we've lessened the curve and everything is starting to pick back up. The economy is starting to react and pick up, and they've only taken 500,000 out of this loan, and they decide, well, I don't really need the other 500,000. They never have to take that. It's not that you're approved for 100,000, so you have to take it. You can decide at any point that you don't want to take any more of the loan, and leave it with that. As well as you can put in for the loan, be approved, and never take a disbursement from it.
So when you mentioned earlier, and you have up here on the slides, that that nonprofits are eligible, 501c3s. What about 501c6s?
I think 501c3, I'm not sure if all of them would qualify. Some may. 501(c)(3)6s, I think, are more easily qualify for that. Okay. So there is some parameters, and I don't have them on here, but you know, it, you know, can't be a religious institution. It, you know, can't be anything like that. It has to, it has to be a private nonprofit. And so if they're structured in that way, then and I think most of them are going to be 501c6s, and they would qualify for that. And that includes chambers of commerce even.
Right.
Okay, very good to know. I have another question that came in I think is really important. Sure. Basically, there are a number of questions basically regarding pre-revenue companies that have had private funding interrupted. Would that count as a, I guess, disaster and a reason to apply for an SBA loan?
If they have seen, because of the coronavirus, a decrease in the money that is coming in, yes.
Okay.
As long as they're already, you know, structured as a business, a for-profit business, you know, then I would say yes, they should apply.
I have to say, I think everyone should just at least take a look at it and at least try and see, because
absolutely.
Because it seems like it's, I love the fact that everything here is just, it's so wide open. It's a big funnel, and it just seems like you got to go through the process and at least see, and it seems like you're making it very easy to navigate and just quick turnaround time. So this is,
and one thing about this too is that there is a lot of flexibility in what you can do with this money. So a lot of our loans are very specific. You know, you need working capital, that's one loan. You need to buy equipment for your business, that's another loan. You need to buy a building for your business. You know, these are all different kinds of things we're very specific about. With this loan, it is very open that it allows you to pay your monthly expenses, to keep your employees on payroll, you know, to have working capital, you know, to do all those things that most loans don't like to lend for, because people, you know, banks like to lend for a vehicle or for a piece of equipment or a building that if you don't pay, they could come and take that and sell it and get their money back. Right. It's really hard when you're lending money for people to pay their creditors, you know, so this loan does give that flexibility, which is exactly what our businesses need right now in this environment.
So, Dr. Hunt, so there still are a lot of questions about the definition of collateral. Can you give some examples?
Yeah, it could be your house. It could be, Yeah, it could be pieces of equipment. It could be, you know, anything that you have that would be of that kind of value. And then, like I said, it doesn't, your collateral doesn't have to meet the full amount of your loan. So say you are really feel like you're going to need the whole $200,000 and you're showing some tax returns from last year compared to where you're at right now, and you're saying, look, I am down. You know, we lost all of our contracts this month. I have no money coming in. I still have to make all these payments. You know, I'm going to need, you know, a lot of money, but the only collateral I have is, you know, maybe I've got, you know, something that's worth 100,000, you know, and we're going to look and say, well, you want 200,000, but your collateral is only here at 100,000. This loan allows for that. So it's not going to be where, you know, you have to come up with the full collateral. So like I said, it could be, you know, whatever asset you have. It may be even assets within your business or personal assets.
Very cool.
Okay.
Do we have time for a few more questions, Audrey?
Yeah, we certainly do, but I want to make sure that we can go through all of her slide
Really?
material.
Okay.
Okay, so you can go to the next one.
Ah, it's invisible.
Maybe that was my last, no, I don't think it was, but
Yeah, I thought you had other slides.
yeah. You can see if you can find them. If not, I have some notes. I can even talk about
Okay.
a few other things that,
Yeah, that was the last slide.
okay.
Okay. So what are some other points that you want to articulate?
Let's see. Another good and important one is that the economic injury disaster loan, the EIDL loan, cannot be used to pay off other debt. So if you have another loan, whether it's an SBA loan or a private loan, you cannot get this loan to pay off another loan. This is more of a working capital, you know, monthly expenses kind of a loan. So that's important to keep in mind. Now, there are a couple instances, or one instance where it sometimes could be, but you would have to really prove that to show that there was a reason why. And, you know, for the 99.9%, it cannot be used to just pay off existing debt. But it can be used, like I mentioned, to pay fixed debts, payroll, accounts payable, and other bills that you would have coming in.
Oh, good. So accounts receivable.
Yes.
Okay.
Like I said, you can have other loans, other SBA loans, even other disaster loans. And that would be a way, you know, that you can still qualify for this one. And, you know, another thing I wanted to bring up is that, you know, the economic injury disaster loan may not be what everyone on the call needs at this very point, but know that this is just one of the ways that the SBA is coming out with an initiative to help, you know, a large amount of small businesses at one time. But we still provide many other things. So we still are providing our one-on-one counseling. We're still, you know, any business or anybody on the line that just needs to talk to somebody about their business, about, you know, any area of that, we can definitely meet with them, talk with them, and help them, you know, with some counseling. We have a vast network of resource partners that also provide free counseling and training. That's our small business development centers, our SCORE network, our Women's Business Center at Chatham University. So we have all of those that receive funding from the SBA to provide a lot of that counseling. We're still helping with regular loans. So if none of these work, we still have a bunch of other loan products out there for the small business community. Our 7A loans, our 504 loans, which are a partnership between a CDC and a lender, and then with some buy-in from the from the borrower, putting about 10% in, and then you have a 50-40-10 mix on those 504 loans. They are extremely low interest rates on those, so under 2%. So there's some great opportunity there. We also have micro loans. So we have micro loans that go up to up to $50,000. These are small loans for people that, maybe you have more of a service business or a retail or something like that, and you just need a small amount of money. The micro loans are a great way to do that. So we still have all of those loan products as well available.
So should people apply now, or should we
Yes.
be waiting until the Senate action?
No, this loan is already approved and up and running. Apply for this loan. If the Senate comes out with something today, if they can all agree again and decide on something, then that's wonderful too. And like I said, that 7A loan, if all those changes, if that perfect storm happens and it makes it through the way that it has been proposed, it might be a better option, especially for a lot of the people on your call, a lot of your clients, your customers who are going to be more of the tech companies and the startups and things. That 7A loan might be even a better option. But we don't know today, so it's not going to hurt you to apply for this. So, definitely do that. I would also, want to tell you this. The SBA has a lot of great products, and we're here to help in any phase of a life cycle for a small business. But I would be lying if I told you that we always have the best things. As the SBA, my job is to help small businesses get access to the resources they need to start, grow, and succeed. Well, late last night, the Pennsylvania legislation approved the changes to their PIDA loans, the PIDA loans. I think it's Pennsylvania Industrial Development Authority loans.
Right.
Those loans are amazing. That loan is a $100,000 loan. I think they're at 0% interest. These are great loan programs. If you only need $100,000, apply for one of the state's loans. You can go to their website. It's on DCED. On the DCED website, you can find information about that. I don't know that their application is up yet. It wasn't this morning when I checked, but definitely check those loans out as well, because for a smaller loan, 0%, you can't get better than free money.
So Dr. Hunt, tomorrow we actually have Senator Jay Costa and Dennis Stavin, who runs DCED. So
good. Well, then you've got experts there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. And you can tell them I gave them a great plug for their loan programs.
Certainly did.
But like I said, in Pennsylvania, they historically have some great programs. And I think locally, Southwestern Pennsylvania Commission can help with state loans. So, definitely check out those resources as well. Like I said, we want to get people the money they need to get through this crisis. And wherever that money comes from, I used to say, if you have to beg, borrow, and steal, whatever it takes, we want to make sure that you have enough money that you're going to be able to weather this storm and come out on the other side. We're all in this together. We're going to succeed if small business succeeds. And so that's what we need to make sure happens.
Well,
Couldn't put it
Dr.
better.
I
That's
cannot
fantastic.
thank you enough on behalf of
Thank you. Hey.
people that are on this call. You have packed in a wealth of information. We will share the slides. We will also follow up on questions that have not been answered. So
There's a lot of them.
save that via our chat. And I also want to give a deep appreciation to Susie Shipley, who is runs the Southwestern Pennsylvania and more Huntington Bank. They are, as I mentioned earlier, the #1 lender in SBA deep expertise. That I can't thank them enough for making sure that the vision that you have, Dr. Hunt, as well as ours, that Southwestern Pennsylvania businesses thrive and succeed, for us, particularly in tech and innovation. But tomorrow, as I mentioned earlier, we have same time, same channel. we will be talking with Senator Jake Costa and Dennis Davin that will pick up exactly where you left off with us today.
Wonderful.
So we will be
Yes.
sharing-
Good luck to everybody.
Thank you.
You're the best.
And thank you, everyone.
Thank you.